You have not seen addiction until you try to take a piece of chicken from somebody. But when you start talking about diet, one of the things that people often think about is, yeah, doc, but I like. I know that feeling because when I first became aware of how important it was to change our diet to one that is more appropriate for our physiology, I had the same feeling. I'm like, I can't live without a hamburger. You know, I really like fried chicken. Basically, God told me, look, you need to get off that stuff, especially if you want to have a better relationship with me. And at that point, I really didn't have much of a choice. Well, I had a choice, but from my standpoint, if the choice is between, you know, a piece of food and having a better relationship with God, that isn't a choice. I mean, I always want to have a better relationship with God, and then once I did change my diet, I immediately started feeling better. I had more energy. My mind was clearer. I stopped getting colds. Acne cleared up. I was a teenager.
I've been using BetterHelp since 2020 when I needed to find a therapist but couldn't leave my house. And in the process, I realized that BetterHelp actually.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, this really is the truth. And it really does work. And so I decided I'm going to dedicate my life to helping people understand just how important it is for us to change our diet. And everything I've learned since then has simply added to that knowledge base and the conviction of helping people to understand just how powerful diet change is. And the other thing that I discovered after I changed my diet was that feeling I had that I couldn't live without something, it was an addiction. You know, when we think about addiction, we always want to talk about alcoholics or heroin addicts or people who smoke crack, but you have not seen addiction until you try to take a piece of chicken from somebody. Okay? Those people will cut you. Once I actually stopped eating dead flesh, not only did I no longer desire it, it actually began to see what it smelled like. And it smells like exactly what it is, dead rotting tissue. And I became horrified that I spent 16 years of my life making my body a graveyard. I see people all the time in the hospital and they're like, why did this happen to me? Why am I getting sick? Because you are putting rotting tissue in your body. You are eating death. You're killing yourself slowly, day after day after day. And we don't have to do that. And once you break a habit, you break a habit. So I'm gonna ask a question I often ask at lectures I give. How many of the people here right now are in relationships? Raise your hands, please. Good, just about everybody. Now, how many of you are in relationship with the very first person you fell in love with? Nobody. Well, okay, we got one lucky lady back there. All right, you get the gold star. But most of us fell in love with someone once, thought we couldn't live unless we were breathing in the air that person exhaled, and then that person did something stupid. And we're like, why am I with this fool? And we kicked them to the curb and we learned to love someone else, and we probably love them better than we love the idiot. Well, just like you did that with that person, you can do it with your diet. Once you come to love a diet that is good for you and healthy for you, trust me, nothing's better. Because that when you sit down to eat, you know that you are building up your body. You are affirming your life. You're improving your health, and you're actually helping the planet. And then most importantly, you're not visiting unnecessary pain and suffering on other innocent creatures. I actually like to start with two passages from the book of Isaiah. They're prophecies about the Messiah, but I feel like this is my commission from God too. The first is from Isaiah 52, verse 7. It says, how beautiful on the mountain are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings and publisheth peace, that bringeth tidings of good. And then there's 61, verse 1. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me because the Lord has anointed me to preach good tidings to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of prison to those who are bound. And I'm going to tell you about 4 people whose lives were dramatically changed by changing their diet. And you'll see why I love these scriptures, because when people do embrace that diet, it's like they are released from prison. Their eyes are opened, literally, and they receive their health and their life back. And so we're going to start off with a quote from Dr. Mark Hyman. And he said, "Food is the most powerful drug on the planet. It can improve the expression of thousands of our genes, balance dozens of hormones, optimize tens of thousands of protein networks, reduce inflammation, and optimize your microbiome, your gut flora, with every single bite. It can cure most chronic diseases and prevent them from developing in the first place, I might add. It works faster, better, and cheaper than any drug ever discovered, and the only side effects are good ones: prevention, reversal, and even treatment of the disease, not to mention vibrant health, good skin, fewer wrinkles, and it makes you age backwards. I mean, it's just a win, 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 win. When we do what we are designed to do, it is just amazing what will happen to our health and to our physiology. So I want to start off by talking about a beautiful person by the name of Kathy Vess. I met Kathy back in the mid 90s when I was working in a free clinic in Alexandria. Kathy had really severe diabetes. She had diabetes by the time we began interacting for 17 years. And it had caused her to become completely disabled because she had blockages in her legs that were so severe she couldn't walk for a block without getting cramping and pain that forced her to sit down. She told me that when she got up in the morning and opened her eyes, she'd have to sit on the side of her bed for at least 20 minutes to half an hour in order for her vision to clear enough for her to get up and start trying to get dressed and take care of herself. She had severe heart disease. And despite taking combination insulin shots twice a day and oral pills, her blood sugar still averaged in the 250 to 300 range. And she felt terrible. And so I sat her down and I said, "Well, Kathy, you know, type 2 diabetes is related to the way most Americans eat. It's caused by an animal food centered diet." And I actually started talking to her about changing her diet in the hopes that I could ease her into becoming a vegetarian and then ease her into becoming vegan. Well, Kathy kind of said, in a way, "Get out of my way, Dr. Mills," because she decided to become vegan overnight. And literally, over the next 8 to 12 weeks, I had to take her off of every single diabetic medicine she was on. She came off of 2 of the 3 blood pressure medications she was on. And over a period of 6 months, she lost 65 pounds without even trying. The blockages in her legs cleared up to the point where she was able to go out and walk a mile, and she was able to go back to work. This was a woman who had been disabled and sick and thinking that she was going to die, and suddenly she had her life back. And Kathy was so thrilled and so grateful. She used to, we actually went to the same church, by the way, and she would accompany me sometimes on lectures that I gave in the DC metro area just to tell her story because it was so amazing. But this is what can happen when a person adopts the diet our bodies are designed to eat. The disease will reverse. You will get your health and your life back.
This is why I switched to Weight Loss by Hims. Weight Loss by Hims offers access to a variety of options for weight loss, like access to compounded GLP-1 injections.
Back. Next person I'm going to talk about is a gentleman that I see in the clinic where I work right now. Now, right now, I am the medical director for 2